shadows red from unjust wars. Children fade behind forgotten doors. The lies of age.
He will not let it stand. Justice. Devotional Series. Episode 2. Before we walk through the first movement of this song, line by line, I want to stand at its entrance and take in the shape of the whole thing. The first movement is a cry, not an argument, not a tidy theology of suffering, a cry. The kind that comes up out of a person when they have looked honestly at the world and cannot pretend anymore. The kind with no polish on it. Before this song says anything about the cross, before it turns its gaze anywhere near our own hearts, it does the most human thing there is. It looks at what is wrong, and it cries out. And I want to begin here by telling you something you may never have been told. That cry is aloud. There is a kind of Christianity that treats lament as a failure of faith, as though a believer who truly trusted God would never raise their voice, never ask why, never demand that he do something about the horror in front of them. But that is not the faith of the Scriptures. The Bible is full of people who cried out, loudly, repeatedly, without apology, and God did not rebuke them for it. Listen to Habakkuk. How long, Lord, must I call for help, but you do not listen? Or cry out to you, violence, but you do not save? Habakkuk 1:2. That is a prophet. That is a man of God. And his prayer is not a serene meditation. It is a complaint hurled at heaven about a world drowning in violence. Listen to the martyrs in the book of Revelation, the ones who had already died for their faith, crying out from beneath the altar of God. How long, sovereign Lord, holy and true, until you judge the earth and avenge our blood? Revelation 6:10. Even in the presence of God, even on the far side of death, the cry for justice is still on their lips. And God does not silence them. He gives them a white robe and tells them to wait a little longer. So if you have looked at this world and felt something rise up in you, grief, anger, a desperate need for someone to set it right, you are not faithless. You are in the company of prophets and martyrs. The cry is not the opposite of faith. The cry is faith. Because you do not cry out to a God you think is absent. You cry out to a God you believe is there, and just, and able. But here is where the cry has to find its proper direction. When we see injustice, the temptation is to believe the answer is in our hands. That if we are angry enough, organized enough, powerful enough, we will be the ones to set the world right. And there is good in the working of our hands. God uses it. But the song is honest about something we resist. We are not the saviors of this world. We cannot manufacture justice from the ground up. We are too small, too compromised, too tangled in the very brokenness we are fighting. Justice, real justice, the kind that reaches every hidden wrong, that misses nothing, that cannot be bribed or outmaneuvered, comes only one way, by His hand and by His word. The song will put it plainly. You bring justice with a sword. You create justice with your word. Those are the two instruments. The sword, His power to act, to intervene, to stop evil in its tracks. And the word, the same word that spoke the world into being, now spoken over the wreckage to make it right. Not our hand, His. Not our verdict, His. This is not a reason to do nothing. It is a reason to set down a weight that was never ours to carry alone. The final setting right of all things does not rest on you. It rests on Him. And the deepest hope of this whole first movement stands on one truth about the character of God. He will not let it stand. He is not indifferent to the earth running red. He is not looking away from the children behind forgotten doors. The God of the Bible is not a distant force who shrugs at evil and lets it run forever. Creation itself groans, Paul says, like a woman in the pains of childbirth, waiting. Romans 8:22. And the God who hears that groaning has bound himself, by his own holiness, to answer it. A God who could see all of this and let it stand would not be good. The psalmist knew this God. The Lord is a God who avenges, he sings. O God who avenges, shine forth. Rise up, judge of the earth. Psalm 94, 1-2. That is not bloodlust. That is a man who has watched the wicked crush the widow and the orphan and the stranger, and who knows in his bones that the God of heaven keeps a record and will settle every account. Nothing is forgotten. Nothing slips past him. The wrong done in the dark, the cruelty no one was ever punished for, the victim no one defended. He saw all of it, and he will answer all of it. And if it feels, sometimes, like he is taking too long, hold on to what we have already said about his character. He is slow to anger. But his slowness is not the same as his absence. His patience is mercy holding the door open a little longer, giving room for the guilty to turn before the account comes due. The delay is not him forgetting, it is him giving time. And one day the time will be full. He will not let it stand. That is the promise underneath the cry. There is one more thing in this first movement, and it is the thing that turns it from a protest song into something far greater. When justice finally comes, it does not arrive from a safe distance. The song says it almost in passing, and we will sit with it more later, but I do not want you to miss it even now. You step down into the night. The judge of all the earth does not stay on his throne and hand down a verdict from far away. He comes down. He enters the very darkness we have been crying out about. He walks into the night himself. And that changes everything about what kind of justice this is. Because a God who steps down into the night is not only going to judge the brokenness, he is going to do something with it we never could have asked for. Through your justice, the song will say, we are saved. Hold that word, saved, loosely for now. We do not yet see how justice and salvation could possibly be the same thing. That is the journey of the whole song. But plant it here. The cry of the first movement is not answered by a cold gavel coming down. It is answered by a God who steps into the dark. So as we walk into these next episodes, bring your cry with you. Bring the grief you have carried about this world, the wrongs you cannot unsee, the ache for things to finally be made right. Do not leave it at the door. The first movement of this song gives you permission to say all of it out loud, but bring it to the right place, not to your own hands, which cannot bear the weight, to the one whose hand and whose word can, to the God who hears the groaning of creation and the blood crying out from the ground, and who has promised, on his own holiness, that he will not let it stand. How long, O Lord? That is the prayer of this movement, and as we are about to see, he has already begun to answer it.
Truth is bartered, bought, and buried there. History bends to serve the proud.